but the public what we're trying to do here, because I think it's a story worth telling. So I'll let them speak, and then if I could make a comment after.
Good evening, Commissioners. Through the chair to all of you. For Mr. Flewelling, who I haven't met, I am Lynn Radzalowski, and I am the Senior Services Director for Genesee County. So the partnership between G-Card, myself, the senior millage, and the senior centers is very fluid. And we come together today because there was a shortage of funding compared to last year that VAAA was awarded to G-Card to provide the congregate meals in the senior centers. So to avoid any type of stopping of meals or shortages going down to 2 or 3 days, which I know we were very concerned about, the senior millage is coming in to provide for the rest of this fiscal year up to $100,000 to continue the congregate meal program within each of the centers. We are going to have G-Card bill us exact amounts rather than just a lump sum transfer. So that way we can use this as a budgeting tool for next year. If VAAA is unable to still give the same amount of money, we'll know a little bit more accurately how much to allot for this programming.
I would also like to add, Pamela Coleman, Director for G-Card. I'd also like to, for one, thank you, Lynn, again for offering to bring this before the commissioners, and thank you all for even considering this request. Valley is still waiting for their FY25 budget, so I am hopeful that right now we're working under a placeholder agreement, so I'm hopeful that we will not have to use a huge chunk of this funding if it's approved, that they will receive an actual grant award notice from their funders, and that will increase what it is that we already have in place.
Do you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I might, through you to the directors, thank you for working together on this problem. This is not the first time, right? And related to senior services and food, I believe, at the senior centers. This goes back to the end of last calendar year, and I'm looking at Commissioner Brown because she and I were both asking questions about this topic because Director Coleman, you expressed to us at that time that there might be a shortage or a shortfall in providing the service. After that, I heard from at least one of my senior center directors who keeps me well informed about his center and the needs of the other centers. And then you came before us again, I think it was in the new year, and indicated that you may not have enough funding to do 5 days a week, that you might have to go to 3 days a week potentially. And so then I know the finance chair and perhaps Commissioner Winfrey and the chair of the commission met with maybe both of you and worked this out. Is that a fair description of how this has transpired?
That's correct.
So to me, this is a great example of us listening, not only to the staff at the county, but to our constituents, and working behind the scenes, in a good way. We're not violating open meetings, we're just doing good work to benefit our community. So thank you for being part of the solution. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your continued support.
Anybody else? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, on item 0091, there's a mistake in the header. The resolution's correct, where they are asking for up to 45 million. 32.5 has been the average over the last several years, so 45 million.
That's been the average of what they've asked or what they've had to use.
32.5 has been the average of what they've used.
Okay. Resolution 25-0091, approval of request from the Genesee County Treasurer to the 2025 borrowing resolution for 2024 delinquent tax in the amount of not to exceed, you said 45 million. $45 million. I need a motion. I'll move it.
Support.
Okay. Yes, sir. You had a question, Mr.
And
Shoemaker?
Carla can explain it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we passed this before. I'm not, my question is more of on the side of what's it actually cost us? How long before we generally have this paid off or paid back? So
Okay, Carla?
those are my two questions.
Thank you. So we have to come before the commissioners, the board, every year to get a resolution passed. So this is just our annual request for every year for us to pay out the delinquent taxes to the local unit. Like Josh said, 32.5 million is generally what we've done in the past as an average. It takes us about 2.5 years to get paid off. Right now, we have the 2023 and 2024 note still out there. By the time this one, we get the funding for this one, it won't usually be until about May. And then probably by July, August, we'll have the oldest note paid off. So we usually have two running at one time, sometimes three for a couple of months, but
So,
it's based on tax collections.
yep, oh yeah. My question is, is there a way to shop for rates on this when you're seeking this out? Did we send it out
So
for
we do
like
try, we
bids
do
for
work
rate?
with PFM to do a private placement. And so we do get rates back from different banks. And then we look at what the rates are to go with what we think is the best option for us. And we do ask for fixed and variable rates just to see which one's better.
Thank you for the update.
Yep.
And just for clarification, did you have a question? Okay, just for clarification for me, and then how's it get paid off once the people pay the late taxes?
Yeah, so as we collect the delinquent taxes, the resolution actually states that the taxes, interest, penalties, and fees as it's collected is pledged to the payment of the bond. So as we're collecting the taxes every year for that specific tax year, it has to go to that specific note. So as we're collecting 2022, 2023 taxes right now, it has to be used to pay off those notes that are specific to that tax year. So as we collect them, we will make the payments towards the bond. Yeah.
Okay, then continue my clarification, then once how does the money get transferred from that into the revolving delinquent tax fund?
So once the bonds are paid off, after any taxes that would still be outstanding after the bond is paid off is what would roll in through the delinquent tax.
Okay, that's what
revolving
I
fund.
was assuming, I just didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, and some of the fees are limited. They have a specific a specific purpose that they have to be used for, that they can't be used for anything else, so.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else have any questions? Yeah, Dr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder, since the 32 million was the average, is 45, is that the highest that we've seen?
So we ask for 45 because we never really know what amount's gonna come over delinquent, because we don't really know what the collections are gonna be at the local unit. And so we ask for 45 million just in case we ever really get to that point. Like I've been in the treasurer's office for over 20 years and I don't know that I've ever seen one that's been that high. I haven't always been involved in it, so I can't speak for sure, but the average probably for the last 10 years has been between 30 and 35 million.
I just wonder if there's something we're anticipating and,
No, our resolution has, for the last several years, always had 45 million. It's just so in case it comes, I don't want to ask for only 33 million, and then our delinquency amount come in at 38 million, and then I have to come back to the board because we're under a certain time frame as to when we have to pay the taxes out. And then we would have to go back out we would have to have the resolution passed in order for us to go back out for bonding and everything.
okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Resolution 25-1125, approval of request by Genesee County Parks and Recreation to apply for a grant from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant to develop 8 pickleball courts in Linden County Park in the amount of $400,000. I move it. Do I have support? Okay, does anybody have any questions? Yeah, is Pat out there? Patrick, just to refresh my memory, in the past, there was talk of the Linden Park, and I don't know if it was this one or a potential other site to, I don't know, buy it and then somehow transfer it into the state park system. Is this that park, or you're not, it was your predecessor that was pushing that?
Yeah, no, Linden hasn't ever been any discussion for the state park. Everything for the state park has been that core area, which I'll go over in my presentation. But,
Sure.
you know, you may remember 2 years ago, we went for the Natural Resources Trust Fund grant. We got it. And then through the design process where we had it located, the Drain Commission wanted us to put in about $300,000 worth of stormwater retention. So we unfortunately had to give it back, but we moved the location. We're not gonna have the amount of impervious surfaces that's going to require that. We're thinking that we have a pretty good shot again to get it, and we have a partnership with Southern Lakes Parks and Recreation to program it once they're put in.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those, thank you, Pat. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-1126, approval of request by Genesee County Parks and Recreation to apply for a grant from Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund to renovate and develop the parking lot at Stepping Stone Falls.
I'll move it.
Support.
Is there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-1136, approval of request by Genesee County. I missed that? Okay. I'm due every week for missing one. 25-1129, approval to create, post, and fill up to 5 youth decoy positions at Genesee County's Health Department. The cost of these positions is fully grant funded. I move it.
Support.
Is there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-1136, approval of request by Genesee County's Parks and Recreation to apply for Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant in the amount of $80,000 to fund parks improvements and to improve opportunities within the greenhouse for Formar Nature Preserve and I can never say that word.
Close enough.
I'll support it. Is there any discussion or comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-1139, approval of a request by Genesee County Parks and Recreation to apply for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land Water Conservation Fund grant to renovate and develop the entrance and lots of Bluebell Beach. I'll move it.
Support.
I do have a question. Patrick, it says entrance and lots. What's the lots?
The parking lots. So
Okay.
the entrance and the parking lots were original to the facility in the mid-1970s. And there was a time crunch and a budget crunch when they put it in. Over the years, they've not held up. So we're looking to redo it.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions? Mr. Wayham?
I just want to know why none of these are in District 8. I'm kidding.
Every
support it.
District 8 doesn't get everything.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-1143, forwarding to receive and file a copy of the paid county bills for the weeks ending 1/26/25, 2/2/25, in the total amount of $9,146,841.05.
Move it.
Support.
Although, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-1149, approval of a proposed budget amendment to the 24-25 appropriations resolution for various line items as described in the attached budget adjustment request. I'll move it.
Support.
Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We don't have any other business. I adjourn the meeting at, looks like 6 o'clock.
Josh, you didn't even have to move nameplates tonight.
I know, I love it. We're having issues with our system. Another reason to leave the building. So it's gonna be blinky. Blinky.
Blinky, that's a technical.
That's a technical IT term.
All right, the Governmental Operations Committee is called to order at 6:01 PM. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wayhill.
Here.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey.
Here.
Commissioner Flewelling. Present. Commissioner Lloyd.
All right, thank you, Mr. Freeman. We have the resolution 2025-1194, approval of meeting minutes, February 5th, 2025. It's been moved and supported. Do we have discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Do we have any public comment to this committee? Do we have any public comment? One last time, any public comment to governmental operations? There's no public comment. Under communications, 25-095, let me just set this up a little bit. So we had a lot of discussion in full commission last week about the purpose and progress and what's going on with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. I happen to know several of the members, one of whom is Elizabeth Jordan, and so I asked her if she would come and do a brief orientation for us. And, you know, even though this is my second term, I still don't know everything there is to know about Genesee County government and the offshoots of Genesee County government, including what this commission does. And I think that's probably fair to say for everybody. So a lot of discussion last week about what you all do and how we can do more of what you're doing, and some questions perhaps. So Elizabeth, if you'd introduce yourself and take it away.
All right, thank you very much to Chair Wayhill and to the entire Board of Commissioners. As he stated, my name is Elizabeth Jordan. I serve as the Vice Chair of the Genesee County Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. And so our Chair, Dr. Kent Key, was unfortunately unable to join us tonight, but I convey to you his greetings and well wishes and appreciation for this opportunity as well. Before I delve into it, I also want to recognize that there are several members of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission here tonight in the audience. So as a way of signaling their appreciation and support for this process as well, I want to recognize them here tonight. So as Commissioner Wayhill conveyed, the purpose tonight is to provide a brief overview. I want to have a chance to give an update about what we've been up to, what we see ahead in the next year or so of our work. And I also want to take a moment to back up a couple steps and talk about what the overall purpose is that we were charged with by the Board of Commissioners. And so we'll spend a little bit of time starting off with that. Next slide, please. All right, so I don't know whose panels are working and whose aren't, but there's this brilliant slide up there that includes a snapshot of the actual resolution. And for the benefit of those who maybe can't see it, I will read it for you. And so this is the pertinent part of the establishing resolution that was passed in 2022 that charges the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission with its mission. Now therefore, be it resolved that this board establishes the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, whose goals will be to increase awareness of social injustice and its effects, to improve fair and equal treatment for all, to enhance the county's reputation as being welcoming to all, and to equip and empower people to resolve social justice issues by focusing on health equity, this board's policies and budget priorities, the hiring, training, diversification, and projects related to county employees, public safety, and procurement. So this has been the lodestone that we, as a relatively new body, have used to understand what is it that you've asked us to do. So we started off our work with a retreat in order to delve into this meaning, and I have to give my appreciation to the members of this Board of Commissioners that were present as part of that. So to Commissioner Winfrey, Commissioner Shoemaker, for being involved at the front end of that and making sure that we understood our charge. The next part that I want to focus on, if the slide comes up, fantastic, there we go. All right, key terms and definitions. So one of those first things that we did when we had our organizing retreat was to try to develop by consensus, what is it that we mean when we say diversity, equity, and inclusion? Those are terms that get bandied about a lot, but in order to have a common sense of purpose, we wanted to spend time developing consensus about what we meant in this context. And so diversity is really just a representation of the variety that exists in the world. And so for us, when we think about diversity, it's just recognizing, respecting that variety that exists and realizing that everybody in our community comes from many different backgrounds, and that certainly can include race, but it also includes a lot of other things, disability, gender, language, economic status, thinking and communication styles. These are all different elements of diversity. Next slide, please. So similar in terms of equity. Equity for us is really about trying to ensure equally good outcomes across groups. So that's about fairness. It's about making sure that folks have what they need in order to be successful, realizing that what it takes for one person or one group may be different than what's needed for another. I kind of joke sometimes that equality is everybody getting the same pair of shoes. I wear a size 9 women's shoe, and so if that's your thing, everybody gets size 9 women's shoes. But that's not what everybody needs. So equity is getting the shoes that fit, realizing that we want everybody to be successful and have good outcomes. In the next slide, builds on our key terms and definitions by focusing on inclusion. Inclusion at its heart is really around a sense of belonging, trying to create an environment where everybody feels free to bring their best self forward, with this knowing that their voice adds value, and that everybody can show up as who they are. And so that's what we mean when we talk about inclusion, is really fostering that sense of belonging. So the next slide talks a bit more about our guiding principles. So again, at the outset, we spent time thinking about how is it that we want to be with one another? How is it that we're going to pursue this work together? And so by consensus, we identified these as things that were of importance. And so that as we try to fulfill the charge that was given to us by the Board of Commissioners in that establishing resolution, we wanted to embody these characteristics. And we had a slower start because we were taking time to form, to decide how we want to be with one another, and to be clear on our purpose. One of the things that is important, I think, to realize is that this group has only been in existence for about 2.5 years. The resolution was passed in, as we'll see on the next slide, the resolution was passed in April of 2022, but we actually had the appointments for the initial commission made in August of that year. So we took those first few months by clarifying our goals, what our roles would be with that, and how we wanted to function together. So that's the retreat and goals and roles workshop that took up much of the fall of 2022. The last time that we had the opportunity to present an update to this group was in the summer of 2023, which was an opportunity at that point to share with the county commissioners what we saw as our work plan and what we wanted to focus in on at that time. It was also an opportunity to hear from you all things that you thought were important. So, for example, we heard that it was important to be thoughtful about metrics. And so that was something that we have been working on to identify how can we track our progress to know that we're making a positive difference. During that summer of 2023 was also a really important launch point for trying to establish relationships with different departments and agencies that make up Genesee County government. We had a workshop attended by I'm not sure how many dozens of people, but out at Crossroads Village, where we had the chance to understand from different departments, what do they perceive as their support needs around diversity, equity, and inclusion? How could we be of assistance with them? And that took place before we actually had any permanent staff. For many of these months, we were operating with an entirely volunteer group, making our way as best we could, but most of us don't work in county government, and so trying to learn the ins and outs of what that means and how to build those bridges without necessarily having that staff person that we could liaise with on a consistent basis. So the hiring of a staff person in April of 2024, Jerome Threlkeld, has made a world of difference in terms of being able to now have that staff support to facilitate communication and collaboration. And I would say that the work that he's been doing with his organizational development hat has been really supportive to our efforts as well, because of the relationships that he is building and that sense of trust and connection that furthers every aspect of the work around the county's values, of which, of course, inclusion is an important part. The other thing that I'll note here is that we had a staff training milestone reached, that one of the things that we were able to do with your support this past year was to identify a staff training module, a very basic 101 sort of overview called How Was Your Day? And I want to specifically thank Commissioner Shoemaker for having lent his support that yes, this should be a required training, that if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And so that has been launched now through Paylocity, and I can report that as of today, we have more than 900 employees of Genesee County that have completed that training. So thank you to the entire commission for your efforts in helping make that happen. So if we can proceed here to giving a brief overview, these are just some of the things that we were able to accomplish since the last time we presented in the summer of 2023. And it's not a short list. I've already talked about some of them in terms of making those initial connections with county departments. We've also followed up with some specific technical assistance requests that we've received from different departments, opportunities where we can try to help folks think through a particular issue that they might have encountered, or to learn more about a particular topic in a way that is relevant to their department's work and needs. I mentioned that we've identified some metrics. These are things that we have identified that are useful and important to track, and so we'll be continuing to work in the coming year about implementing that. Some of the things that you've probably seen, Commissioner Winfrey has been a bridge for us in terms of some of the policies that have been brought forth. So one example was the county's procurement policy, and he was able to share with us the draft policy, and we were able to provide some thoughts and insights about how to incorporate some of the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion into that. I won't go through every one here, but we certainly have done our best to try to do right by the charge that you have given us. One of the other things I will highlight is that this past year we ended up having 3 vacancies on our commission, 2 based on people's terms expiring, and 1 with the unfortunate passing of Commissioner Raynetta Speed, who left some very big shoes to fill. But we were able to establish a process that was able to get many dozens of applications from qualified folks, and we had a clear and consistent process for reviewing those and filling those seats. So at this point, we have a full complement of commissioners. Next slide, please. Okay, so what lies ahead to us? So I mentioned already that we're continuing to work on the implementation of the metrics and evaluation work. We've also touched on staff training already. Different departments have been working on customer service training, so things that are more appropriate and focused to public-facing roles and some of the things to be mindful with that. So that work continues. We continue to work on department-specific best practices and on an as-needed or requested basis. Equitable budgeting is up there as something that we want to learn about. We realize that there's a lot of resources around the topic, but this is just kind of a learning year for us to explore more about what does that consist of, what have other communities found works well, and also learning about our own existing budgeting practices. And then the two things that I'll highlight on this slide, one is recommendations on county policies and practices. One of the things when I looked at the YouTube footage from the last couple of meetings was the emphasis that actions matter more than just words. And that really made my heart sing because I also believe actions really matter. And so I appreciate that invitation from the Board of Commissioners to do more actions. And so in that vein, last night we had our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission meeting and actually passed a couple resolutions that I think help to respond to that request from the commission. And so those resolutions are being forwarded to the administrator's office, and I think you'll have probably in your hands next week. And one of those resolutions pertains to Women's History Month, which I know was brought up as a specific request. So we listened, we appreciate the opportunity, and stand ready to continue partnering with you. So the last slide here just gives a little bit of contact information. There's the emails for both me and Dr. Key. And then for all of you, as well as any members of the public, that we meet now the third Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. in this room, so the Harris Auditorium on the third floor of the county building. We don't yet have a savvy YouTube setup, so if you're interested, please come down and see us in person, or of course, you're welcome to reach out by email if we can ever be of assistance. So thank you very much again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. We appreciate you and the other members. Did you all stand already? If you would stand if you're on the DEI Commission, just so we can see who you are and recognize you. All right, thank you for being here. Thank you to Jerome Threlkeld, as well as the point person on our staff that is providing you with capacity to do your work. I'll open it up to my fellow commissioners if they have comments or questions. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Jordan, for coming and giving us that exceptional overview. We appreciate the work that the commission is doing. I did have a chance to preview the resolution for Women's History Month last night at the meeting, and I was very impressed with it. So thank you for doing that work and turning it around so quickly. My question has to do with positions on the commission, and are they staggered terms? And so, if so, how many seats are coming up and when?
Certainly. So they are staggered terms. I would have to double check, and so Jerome can probably back me up if need be. I believe that there are 3 seats that are that the term is expiring. Now, it is possible for people to be reappointed, but the idea is to open it up, and so current seat holders, as well as any interested member of the Genesee County public, would be able to apply.
Thank you.
Do we have additional? Commissioner Flewelling?
Yes, sir. I actually have several questions, if you'll indulge me, through you to the speaker. Thank you for being here. A couple questions. How is the commission funded? Is it general fund money?
Now, you're asking a person who doesn't know that much about county budgeting. No. I would defer to
I can speak to it. It's
Josh.
the general fund.
General fund? Okay.
Yeah.
What's the total budget? Does anybody know?
Think that we have a total budget for them of $50,000.
50,000? Okay. How many permanent staff do you have?
They don't have any permanent staff. We have an organizational development coordinator who staffs this for them, but that's just one piece of that job function.
So Jerome, right?
Jerome,
So he,
yes.
kind of like liaison?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So he doesn't cost anything to the budget for his wages?
No, he does, but it's not solely dedicated to that. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yep.
Okay. The last question I have, what is a DEI index score? I saw that as part of your slide as one of you guys' goals and objectives, and I just,
Yeah, so that, so you all got the more in-depth version in the handout. So the DEI index score, I think you're talking about,
it's under employee engagement or
Yeah, so-
DEI index scores?
yeah, so the metric under that is increase in employees agreeing that the organization is a place that values DEI. So that's essentially, like if you're doing an employee survey about workplace climate sort of thing, that would be a score related to that.
Okay, so that, if I may,
You may.
that is in regards to existing employees? It's not something that's used during the hiring process?
Correct, and I should say, this is, that was an indicator identified as something that we would be interested in tracking over time. That is not yet in place to my knowledge, that there is no annual employee climate survey that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have other discussion or questions? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Yes, through the chair. Elizabeth, thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the information as always. I hope your board takes my comments differently than the public does and takes them as the way I felt. And I felt you have always been one to actually respect that, most definitely my view. I don't know if sometimes I believe everyone heard what I was saying, actually. Listening, like I said, the last meeting and hearing are two different things. And I did learn that in our board meeting, so that's a plus I did get out of there. I will say this, I hope you can teach the general public that when somebody disagrees with them, one of our key policies or positions was that treat people respectfully even when you disagree with them. Maybe, like I said, maybe we can get the public someday to agree with that also. And I hope you guys, and I wish you the best. I hope you get people to do that. I will tell you, as far as the appointments committee, I would like to make sure that we have those appointments when they're ready and they go on our website so people know to fill out the application and fill out the process. I would appreciate, notification from this board or your board either way so we can make sure those happen. So, thank you.
Do we have additional discussion or questions? All right, thank you, Elizabeth. We appreciate you being here and your work, along with everyone else. Under old business, we have none. Under new business, we have Resolution 2024-1236, approval of a contract between Genesee County and Genesee Intermediate School District in an amount not to exceed $65,000 to provide violence prevention and intervention services. The term of this contract is from October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2025. The cost of this contract will be paid from the account listed. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Do we have support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Commissioner,
Supported it?
I moved it.
he moved it.
Can't move it, he's not on the committee.
Oh, you're not on the committee.
I'll move it.
Oh,
Okay, we got a motion here and you support?
Please.
All right. Do you have a question?
I do.
Okay, Commissioner Shoemaker, you're recognized.
And again, I see October 2024. We are in February 2024, February 19th. It just very frustrated me that we come up with these things and they're always late, and obviously we're still funding them, even though we haven't approved it. So it doesn't make me feel great about the way we're doing this, because there's got to be a better way, as we've just spoke about before. So, one, why is it late through the chair? Why is it dated October 1st? And then I'll continue if that's okay.
I think it's an excellent question.
Would you identify yourself?
Yes, Barbara Manier, I'm the administrator of Circuit Court. I think it's an excellent question, and it is not the way that this should be managed, in my opinion. I found out about this contract not having been brought to the board the day it was submitted, is when I found out about this. And I have a meeting tomorrow, actually, to review all the grants and contracts that the circuit court submits to this body for review and approval. And we need to do better, and we will do better.
Commissioner?
And thank you for being here. Not that I'm just picking on your department or
I-
anything else like that, but
I'm
we have a lot of
pickable, no
these that come,
problem. That's
I
what I-
appreciate you being forward with it
That's
and
what I'm
frank.
here for.
But we have a lot of departments that continue to do this, and, you know, we create the budget in advance so we can be prepared for these expenditures, and then yet we're receiving these things, you know, 5, 6 months after the fact, so I
I don't
appreciate you.
favor it, sir.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Flewelling?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, through you to the speaker, has this contract already been executed? Is it being expensed currently?
It's been expensed to the tune of $2,300. I checked on that today. And it's, of course, with GISD. I contacted the signatory on the GISD draft when I became aware of it, and I said, do you have any understanding as to why this was not presented earlier? I don't get any information there, but I know we have an October bill for $2,300. That's all that's been expensed on this contract.
Okay, so the contract's already active.
Commissioner Getzinger?
Can you tell me what the services are? Does this include some
Yes.
sessions or?
I can tell you a little bit, but I brought the chief juvenile probation officer with me who can go in a little more detail, if you will. But there are 2 anger management tracks that are provided, and one is a little bit more extensive than the other in duration and wider in scope. But this is Kenda Herrick, and I think maybe she would be able to answer some questions, and she did bring some handouts for you on them. They're called ART and CHILL. Those are the acronyms.
If you'd identify your name and title for us?
I'm Kenda Herrick. I'm the juvenile probation supervisor. This is a contract we've had for over 10 years. GISD provides it. It does provide 2 anger management classes. One is called CHILL. It's kind of the lesser of the programs. It meets for 12 weeks, once a week. Some of the youth that are referred to it may have gotten in fights at school and they're kind of lower level services. The other program is called ART, which is an aggression replacement training program. And it goes a little more in depth, and they look at behaviors and consequences and try to go, and it meets twice a week. But it goes more into how to change your behavior. There is one of the handouts actually is a comparison of the 2 programs. And it really kind of shows you the differences, but just one's more intense than the other. And like I said, GISD has provided the service for over 10 years.
Okay. Do we have additional discussion? Commissioner Flewelling?
The last thing I think I'll say about it, echoing Commissioner Shoemaker's thoughts, if this is, sounds like a great program, don't get me wrong. It's been going on a long time. But if this has become the practice for departments to have these contracts in place and then execute them, renew them, and expense them without proper notification, proper approval, that has to change.
Without a contract.
Yeah. If we're the approving body, we're responsible for the taxpayers' money, and that's not happening apparently.
Do we have additional discussion? Commissioner Brown?
I am familiar with school systems and how their budgets work, and I'm assuming the ISD works the same way, that they don't get their funding until after a certain point from the state level, which backs up every other school district's, system for, awarding grants, subcontracting grants. And so a large piece of it, again, has to do with the way the state budget works. And, the school districts don't get their funding until after they do that first count day and kids show up in September. And so that's one factor as to why I think the the timing doesn't align with what we're doing. But my question, I'm familiar with the restorative justice model. This seems to be a little bit of a proactive thing to help prevent bad behavior or something.
Yes, it is. I mean, the ones that the court funds are kids that actually have come before the court, so we refer them to the program. But I do know that the school has its own funding for the CHILL program, so they are also preventing the referrals to the court by referring youth who may have had some issues at school, and instead of filing a petition to get them involved in court, they are sending kids to the program, but they do have their own funding for youth that are just school youth and not sent to the court.
And one more question.
Commissioner Brown.
Mr. Chair. My question has to do with the data. And since we've been doing this for 10 years, are you able to provide us with any data as to the success of this program? What are the metrics?
I honestly do not have any of the data. We do recidivism checks and things like that with the school. I do not personally have any of that data.
All right, thank you.
Right, Commissioner Getzinger.
More of a statement than a question. I'm very familiar with CHILL. We've used CHILL for a long time at Grand Blanc High School. Many times we use it for expelled students, part of coming back to school after their expulsion is completion of CHILL. I've used it lots for other situations, kind of in lieu of suspension type program. So CHILL, I'm very familiar with, and it's a solid program. I'm not that familiar with ART, but.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shoemaker, then Commissioner Flewelling.
This is not so much with this this is overall for this general board, though. And to touch on what Dr. Brown had said, if that's the case and the state hasn't determined what funds are going to be delivered, and it seems like the schools have this problem with getting their funding, it seems like everyone else is, why are we not moving our contract dates back then and starting the contract after they get the approval? Because this has happened to us before, where we've had to cover a shortfall when we didn't get a grant. And so, how do I put this? I apologize. If the day comes where it's a large enough amount, this could be very, very troublesome to all of us. You know, these are smaller amounts, so it's not that big a deal if it wasn't going to get funded, but this is something we need to really look at, and we've talked about looking at this since most of you have been here, and even before I brought this up, we've had other contracts that have been brought to us 6-8 months late, and we have the power to change this. We need to do it. It's just, it's right, it's wrong. In my opinion, a lot of times it's wrong to bring us these things late. So I'd like to see us do something, maybe Josh put it into one of our workshops, which we need to get scheduled, to figure out how we correct this so we're not asking the taxpayer out of general fund dollars to pay for programs that we were glad to have because they were grant funded, but if we had to pay out of our own money, it's a little different. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity.
Commissioner Flewelling.
Mr. Chair, last thing I'll say on this is, seems like a very important program. I'm going to support it because we've already made the commitment and there's already funds out there, but I do strongly believe some of these processes need to be cleaned up. Thank you.
Do we have additional discussion before we have our guest? Looks like she wants to say something. Go ahead, Barb.
Well, if I could just make one final point. Most of the commissioners, other than the 2 new commissioners, are familiar with the annual child care fund plan that we have to bring to the board, where the state is a large contributor to that. In some cases, they pay 75% of services, and the county pays 25%. Other, it's 50-50. The timing of putting that document together and identifying the programs is very tricky. I mean, it's not an excuse. I'm just telling you, it's really, really a tricky problem to comply with those deadlines and to bring it to the board in a timely manner. But I assure you, as I mentioned a moment ago when Commissioner Shoemaker asked me about the timeliness of this, I'm in the process, and it's starting tomorrow, the meeting is tomorrow, about the timing of submission of grants, who's going to control that, and they're not going to be siloed. It's going to be a team effort directed eventually through me, so these matters are brought timely here. I don't like this, and I feel very ill at ease having to stand here, but I assure you, it will change.
Do we have any additional discussion? I'll just say that I agree with my colleagues, Commissioner Flewelling and Commissioner Shoemaker, that we need to get a handle on this, and probably a workshop setting is where we can really dig into it a little more. I imagine there's lots of nuances that we haven't touched on, but it occurs to me that maybe we can create a process where 90% of the time, or more, 98% perhaps, we're getting these things in a more timely fashion. So thank you both. There is a motion on the floor that has been moved. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Resolution 2025-0002, approval for the final contract year with Plant Moran to provide healthcare consulting services.
Move it.
It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Do we have discussion? Commissioner Flewelling.
Just a question, Mr. Chair. What services do they provide?
Our Deputy Director of HR.
If you'd introduce yourself for us.
Good evening. Todd Wattoon, Deputy Director, HR. Healthcare consulting services.
Okay, what does that consist of?
They provide services for us in guidance of the Healthcare Coalition. They provide us services to guide us in navigating healthcare. So that's our employee healthcare and all of the back side of healthcare that we don't see on day to day, which is the stop loss carriers and other actions.
Okay. Mr. Chair, oops, sorry.
Commissioner Flewelling.
Strictly because I'm not familiar with this part of Plant Moran, what division of Plant Moran does healthcare?
Plant Moran Benefit Group is
Okay.
the entity.
All right, thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? Commissioner Kuzno.
Point of information, going back over the years, we hired Plant Moran, their division, which is the healthcare division, because of problems that we were having with overpaying for insurance, the health insurance for our employees and our retirees. And through that process, we were able to show where what we were doing and had been doing throughout the years, we're overpaying for the health care out of the fund balance by about $5 to $7 million. So they have saved us a lot of money throughout the years. And that was, of course, on the fund balance is less than $100 million a year. So that was a significant amount that we're overpaying, and saved us a lot of money. So I really appreciate what's happened over the years. Thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? All right, thank you, Todd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Resolution -2025-0034, approval of an agreement between Genesee County and We Connect in an amount not to exceed $28,800 to provide mental health services for Genesee County employees and families. The cost of this agreement will be paid from the account listed. Do we have a motion?
I move it.
It's been moved. Is there
Questions.
moved and supported with a question? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Well, to start with, can we have a little more detail on this program, who the employees will be, how they're selected? There's not a lot of money to throw at mental health, so just start with that.
So this program was brought to Human Resources. We looked into it. We sent it to Plant Moran. They investigated it well and vetted it. Through that whole process, we got some responses back through active members in We Connect. It's a mental health platform that utilizes more social media, cell phones, texting, those kinds of platforms for interactions. They have individuals that will assist anybody in need. The inclusiveness of We Connect is that it is all employees and their family members or close family unit members. So it's not just those on our healthcare plan, it's any employee associated with Genesee County. It's a very loose program that is allowed for many individuals, so it's very inclusive. And it gives us a platform for the use of healthcare, for mental health. We've probably all have individuals who've experienced problems getting into a counselor service or something. These are peer support specialists. They have meetings daily or weekly that they can engage in separately on their cell phone or mobile devices through a Teams-style app. There's also texting, so they can text back to these peer support members whenever they need support. There's always somebody available.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
So this is unlimited usage then at this
That is-
cost for
that is-
a year?
Correct, unlimited usage, correct.
So that's plus. Is this budgeted?
It's not currently budgeted. There was a budget amendment out of the general fund.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
A few years back, this county voted, because it takes mental health seriously, to pass a mental health village. Did we reach out to GHS and ask them if they would support this for us instead of dipping into our general fund?
So if I can, no, we did
Mr.
not
Freeman.
reach out to them. Their millage is for specific uses, as defined in the millage language. It's very narrow.
And I thought mental health was part of it, though.
It is not for this type of service. So this service is like, maybe I've got an issue that I need to deal with, but I'm not comfortable in going in and doing it the traditional way. This is trying to engage with people in a different way to make sure that nobody's fallen through the cracks and are getting services and support.
I understand. I remember the language in the millage, because if you remember, there were promises made during that millage that I believe GHS did not fulfill. And we were trying to hold up the millage dollars, and then certain people on this board decided to move forward because promises were made to help police deal with, it was right after certain incidents had taken place nationally, and we were trying to make sure our police officers and our sheriff's department had help if they needed it for mental health. And so I remember it very well, and I just think it would be covered, but that's just me, and there's always looking for options for help from these organizations. You know, and this is the taxpayers' money, you know, obviously, as I always say, and I want to take care of our employees and I want to help them. But here's my next question. Before we spend this, how are we going to tell if we're successful with it? Because it's great that we're going to do this, but if it comes to us next year, what's our measuring stick to see if we're successful with this? Do we have one? Do we know how we measure that?
There's internal metrics. Plant Moran can track the number of users and how often is the services being utilized through WeConnect, and then we'll have some feedback for that.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
This is a Plant Moran product?
This is not a Plant
Oh, I thought
Moran
you said,
product.
but Plant Moran can track it.
Plant Moran through WeConnect, our healthcare consultants interact with WeConnect to get that information back to us.
Can we get a lot more information on this before our next meeting? Is there a way we could see the app and see it work and see it function? You could get a hold of me and I could actually,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah, we can make
we
that
could,
possible.
do they have like a demo set up we could use? You know, a couple of us commissioners, if we want to actually call and see how it's going to work?
I can, yeah.
That would be fantastic. Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome. So I've got Commissioner Flewelling, then I think I saw, no? Okay, Commissioner Flewelling.
Through you to the speaker. I actually had the same questions that Commissioner Shoemaker had about the mental health millage. Thank you for answering those. For $28,800, not a lot of money, right? Mental health is very important. Is that as robust as this program gets? Is it scalable? I guess my question is, if Plant Moran sees good numbers of usage, are you going to come back next year and say, hey, we're going to grow, we're going to go to the platinum plan for $56,000 a year, or is this it?
As far as I'm aware, this is one plan. This is all in. This is the cost of WeConnect. There is no platinum plans. This is cost per person, per employee, per annual cost.
If I may, so they're able to track it.
Yes.
You said there's metrics. Are they able to track, probably not Plant Moran because you've got HIPAA rules, but WeConnect, can they track it to the point of making follow-up? Because it's one thing to say that 100 people used it. However, that one person that may have used it once and never came back, that might be your issue. And I know you know what I mean as well as anybody does.
I'm not sure exactly what they can and can't track in WeConnect. I can follow up with you.
Okay. Yeah, that might be a little deeper conversation for a different time, but if it's open to the employees to use, I would hope that there's a way to make sure if they need that additional help, they can get it. And they're not just lost in a phone app. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Commissioner Getzinger.
Is this new?
Brand new. I mean, I don't know how old WeConnect is, but it's new to county.
Additional questions? So I've got a couple, if you would. So I think the metrics and the evaluation commentary is good. Can you come back in 6 months, assuming we approve this next week, come back to this committee in 6 months and tell us about some of the initial metrics and usage? So that's the first thing. How did we determine that there was a need? And for this particular way of delivering the service, because it sounds very specific.
Feedback, Healthcare Coalition, been meeting for a very long time now. Feedback from employees and/or the coalition members themselves is that mental health treatment and/or assistance has been a difficult field since COVID to receive what people need as treatment or see as services available. That's one of the driving factors. We keep revisiting this mental health topic over and over again.
Okay. Do you have a plan for promoting it within the county?
Social media and then emails, et cetera, through current employees.
Okay, through our traditional channels of getting the word out. And then lastly, do we have a formal, separate from this, a formal employee, what's an EAP is the acronym, right?
Yes.
And so this is over and above the EAP?
So an EAP is 3 visits to an actual clinician. That's a physical thing the EAP provides for. This is above and beyond that.
Yep, so this is a supplement in a different way of providing the service.
It's more remote distance. Somebody doesn't want to go in person or they're having trouble getting that in-person visit.
Right, I get that. Okay, that's all that I've got. Do we have additional commentary? Yeah.
Sorry,
Commissioner
when you were
Shoemaker.
talking, I got thinking, so
Yeah.
I apologize, but, question, some of my basic, things I like to go back to. One, did we look for other partners in this that provide this service or this type of service? And did we send it out for bids once we did?
We did not send it out for bid.
Yep, nope, the dollar amount is under the amount required for bidding per our purchasing policy. And I don't know that we went around looking for a lot of other people that provide this or similar service. This was a connection made through the Greater Flint Health Coalition. I think they're working with the city of Flint on a similar program for their employees.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
If I may, well, that frustrates me a little bit for a couple reasons. One, if we are going to provide a service to our employees, we should make sure it's the finest out there for the dollar. That's my opinion. If you're going to spend money on something, and I know it's under our amount that we don't have to send out for, but I don't like that amount anyways, and those are things we can challenge at any time, and I will continue to challenge them because 30,000 is still a lot to a lot of people when your average resident makes around 40-some thousand in this city. I mean, so when they take taxes out, that's probably their yearly income for some people. So it is a lot of money. But on top of it, that we didn't send it out, we didn't vet other providers, are there reviews on this, or are there other stuff like that we can make sure that we aren't providing a service that can be detrimental to our staff? And then it brings up a whole nother question. If somebody does receive help and something does happen, and are we liable?
Yeah, so we did run it through our healthcare consultant. They did do the review. We did have staff sit in on demonstrations of what the product was and to be offered, so.
Who's the consultant?
Plant Moran.
Of course.
They're our healthcare consultant.
I understand. Oh, I'm very familiar. Yes, I know. I've seen a theme. It continues, and.
Well, this isn't Plant Moran that's providing
No, I
the
understand it's
service.
not Plant Moran, but everybody has people they like to work with and so on and so forth, and companies they like to recommend. Like I said, I'm a little.
This recommendation did not come through Plant Moran. This recommendation was separate from, and we gave it to our healthcare consultant to vet it and review it. So this wasn't a recommendation from Plant Moran.
So I understand the process.
Okay.
Healthcare Coalition decided this would be something good through their surveys, everything else like that. Great. We went out and just found the first company that came along and we hired them, or we looked into multiple companies then?
No. We did not look into multiple companies, as I said before. This was a connection made through the Greater Flint Health Coalition, who was working with this company, with the city of Flint. And we reviewed it. We thought that there was value for our staff in the program. We gave it to our healthcare consultant to vet. They saw that there was value in our staff, and we're here now.
Are there other companies that provide this type of thing?
There could be. I'm sure there are multiple companies that provide healthcare services.
I really want to support this because, as everyone knows, I lost a loved one to mental illness. And, but the elected official in me that says we're going to spend every tax dollar wisely and we're going to actually look into everything we should do, and just because it's $30,000, we should be looking into this more. On top of it, I think our employees deserve us to look for the best option for them. We spend money on trying to keep our employees happy. We try to keep them here. And like I said, I'm a little frustrated we didn't look further to see maybe there is a better solution for our employees. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Freeman, for all the information.
You're welcome. Do we have additional discussion on the motion? Commissioner Flewelling.
One more question. What is the term of the agreement?
What? 1 year.
1 year? Thank you.
All right. Do we have additional discussion?
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
Please, I'm sorry.
Commissioner, you're fine. Please go ahead.
In respect to Commissioner Schumacher's concerns, will there be other companies looked at? If this is approved tonight and then next week, will other companies be researched, looked into to make sure?
I can speak, when we sent it to Plant Moran, when it came to us, we prematurely vetted it and then sent it to Plant Moran. Plant Moran did look for other services similar to, so we could have something to compare to, and they didn't have anything come back in this nature.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion is carried. Thank you, Todd. Resolution 2025-0114, approval of a request by Genesee County's Healthcare Coalition to provide a buy-up option for dental and vision insurance.
But with a question.
It's been moved. Is there support? Moved and supported. Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm assuming this is how it sounds, that there's no additional cost to the county, just employees have the option of actually purchasing a better product or solution for their needs.
That is correct.
Do we have additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is passed. You're getting your steps in,
Thank you.
Todd. All right. Resolution 2025-1141, approval of an amendment to an agreement between Genesee County and Dr. Larry Cage in the amount of $10,000 for a revised contract amount of $39,500 to provide physician services at Genesee County's Juvenile Justice Center. The cost of this amendment will be paid from account listed and is 50% reimbursable by the state of Michigan.
Move it.
Moved and support. Is there discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
What is the cause for the 10,000 increase?
I'm going to respond to that, but I've also got Chad Sharp with me, the director of the Juvenile Justice Center, and it's malpractice insurance. This physician was employed in private practice and was also an instructor through Genesee, I believe, and his malpractice insurance was provided. He has since retired, so we never had to carry his malpractice insurance before, but now our single client for this physician is the Juvenile Justice Center. And so this allows him to continue to be there, and we have to have a physician, Chad, is that right?
State licensing, yes.
That's the request.
All right. Additional discussion. Commissioner Shoemaker.
Can this, by approving this can keep you within your budget?
Yes, it's in the budget.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Resolution 2025-1150, approval of a request to extend the contract agreement between Genesee County and West Publishing Corporation, Thomson Reuters, in the total amount of $144,300.96 to provide for electronic legal research.
Move it.
Moved
Question.
and supported with a question. Commissioner Flewelling, sorry.
You're okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, what is the, what do they publish?
I'm sorry?
What does the 144,000 exactly do for you?
The $144,000 allows all judges, law clerks, all attorneys that are employed by Genesee County to have a subscription to a wide catalog of electronic research for their work. That includes Corporation Counsel, the prosecutor, the public defender's office, the district court, the probate court, the circuit court, et cetera. We went out for proposals on this last year. Last year was the first year of the contract. This is the first renewal, which I would like to underscore doesn't come up until July 1. So we are still in the first contract year. I'm asking to get ahead of this and sign up for the second year. We already negotiated the smallest possible increase that we could, and it was 2%. So it's budgeted. Everybody's on board with it.
Thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. It appears we have no other business. We are adjourned at 6:55.
Look at they're all leaving.
Take general conversation. We generally
Pretty sure it
have
is.
these when we have a full board, so if
Right.
residents say tune in, it's just a second.
Yeah. So try to do this presentation. Eyes real fast.
I noticed that. Is that what was the issue with the lights too? The lights kept flickering, and I thought somebody was messing with the switches.
No, it's actually.
Yeah, those lights were flickering. I can't be the only one that noticed. Did you?
Maybe once I can.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they were flickering on and off.
Okay, guys.
Hey,
Was asked to do it.
I'm not all right. Good? All right. Call the Public Works Committee meeting to order at 6:57. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Flewelling,
Present.
Commissioner Avery. Here. Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Lloyd.
Thank you. Take Resolution 2025-1196, approval of meeting minutes, February 5th, 2025.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Then we have public comment to the committee. Any public comment to the committee? Any public comment? Public comment is closed. Communications, 25-093, update on Flint River Restoration Project.
Here we have Patrick Linehan here. He's our Parks Director, and he's got a short presentation for us.
Thank you.
All right, so commissioners, the ones who have sat through the presentation about 6 months ago, this is a shortened version because we've gotten quite a bit done. So we'll go through that. But this is a brief overview of what the Flint River Restoration Project is and what the state park is and how they relate. All right, so when we look at the funding for the model here, for the Flint River Front Restoration Project, we've raised over $50 million to date since the inception of the project. When we look at how this is being funded, the state park moving forward, there is an endowment that is set up with the Community Foundation, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, the City of Flint, the CS Smott Foundation, and Genesee County. So roughly $1 million a year is set up to go into maintenance and operations for the state park moving forward, $300,000 into programming, and $500,000 into capital improvements. So a little bit of history on the Flint River Restoration Project. In 2009, the city of Flint engaged in a team of consultants to transform the Flint riverfront from a neglected resource to a community asset. Genesee County, we got involved around 2015. This includes everything from what was known as Chevy in the Hole up to Riverbank Park, and then later up to Vietnam Vets Memorial Park, which is on James P. Cole. This project also included the removal of 2 dams, the Hamilton Dam, which was a high hazard dam, and there is the superstructure of the Hamilton Dam in that picture, and the Fabry Dam, which was installed in the Grand Traverse Block in 1980 as part of the flood control measures, and then to put water into the Riverbank Park system. And this project became the base for the new state park in the city of Flint. We still don't have a name for it yet. It's working through the state processes for that. So we're hoping that we get a name soon. We're pretty close, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag quite yet. So as far as the dams go, the Hamilton Dam was installed in 1920. Adjacent to what is now the University of Michigan campus, and the Fabry Dam was installed in 1979. With the removal of the dams, we had to adjust for 7 feet of variance between where the dam was. So with the engineering and Eagle and all the consultants, we created 6 riffles from up here. You'll see that's Vietnam Vets Memorial Park on James P. Cole, all the way down to the last one there, which is almost Grand Traverse Street. So you have 6 of these riffles that essentially do a gradual drop of the water to that 7 foot. So the water levels will be more stable north of the first riffle and south of the second riffle. You'll see more variation in the area there. One of the things that this does is it opens up more than 25 miles of waterways through the Schwartz Creek and Kersley Creek and other tributaries that were blocked for fish passage and recreation. And also, it includes 5 miles of the Flint River all the way up to the C.S. Mott Dam at Stephenstone Falls. So the creation of the state park, when it's named, it will officially be the 104th state park, and it will be the first one in Genesee County. We do have some DNR resources in Genesee County, most notably the boating access sites down in the Fenton area, but that's the only area that has had DNR. You do have Seven Lakes, which is right on the border within Oakland County, but nothing specifically here. So once it's done, it's going to be 230 acres of state park land right here in the city of Flint. It's made up of 5 distinct units with 3 pathway connections. And then the metrics, it's going to be within a 10-minute drive for all City of Flint residents or a 30-minute drive for all Genesee County residents. As far as acquisition goes, all but 1.5 acres has been assembled, and that's some General Motors property on Kersley that we're still trying to get. The goals of the state park is to improve the habitat along the Flint River, fuel economic development, and enhance the quality of life for the citizens of the city of Flint and Genesee County. So here is the layout of the state park. So I'll go over with that a little bit. So you're looking at 3 miles from one side to the other and 1.5 miles down. So the orange area up here, this is Vietnam Veterans Memorial Park and the Flint River Trail all the way down to 5th Street. We have a connection here. The teal area here is Riverbank Park. Chevy Commons here in the pink, connector here, and the Mott Recreation area. Now, only the old golf course is part of the state park. The neighborhood park on the other side of the road is still a City of Flint park. Right down through here, this is going to be the future Grand Traverse Greenway, which will connect to Happy Hollow. So I'm going to go through a little bit of each of the units as the state calls it. So they're essentially distinct parks within the greater umbrella of the state park. So Chevy Commons is 67 acres of formal industrial site. It was established in the 1930s as one of General Motors' 4 major production facilities in Flint. It once featured over 17 buildings and at its peak, 8,000 workers. After development, this was the first Genesee County park in the city of Flint, but with the creation of the state park, we were able to gift that along with all the liability of the site to the state of Michigan. One of the things that we will be doing here in the future, if you've been out to Chevy Commons, it's a very nice natural area within the city of Flint. As you go out there and walk, you'll see birds, you'll see wildlife, not something that you usually see in that urban environment. But in our great green lawn off from Kearsley, we are looking at a signature play garden and park restrooms there. The thought is for it to be a showpiece for the community and something that our residents want to use, but also something that will bring people into the community as well. The trailhead for the Grand Traverse Greenway, which is what I was discussing with the 1.5 acres that's directly across on Kearsley Street. And then recognition of the site's history through signage and other interpretive means. Riverbank Park. So Riverbank Park was designed by a renowned architect, Lawrence Hepburn, in conjunction with the Army Corps of Engineers Flood Control Project. If you've lived in Flint for a long time, you'll remember what the flooding was like downtown, and the Army Corps came in to do a flood mitigation project, and Riverbank Park, while it's visually appealing, serves a specific purpose as far as that program goes. The park, with the rise and fall of the community, has seen disinvestment over the years. So we're looking at ways to put that investment back in with our partners. So this year, you'll start to see some work. We're working through the bid documents right now for the bid that we received for the as we call upland work. We had the in-river work. This is the upland work. Creating new terraces to the water, safer river access and egress, open sight lines, improved landscaping, restoration of the park lighting. None of the lighting in the park currently works. Enhancing barrier-free access, and future work outside of this will also be to get the grand fountain and the water wall fountains working again. Originally, that brought in river water because the river water was a lot higher, and going into the future, this will have to be a pump type system. The Mott Recreation area, which again is the old golf course and now disc golf course, is 72 acres. It's owned by the city of Flint, leased to the state of Michigan. The Mott Park Recreation Association had been taking care of the park for many years before this came up. They have rights to the clubhouse, and they do events out there like the Turkey Trot every year and Mott Fest. Future improvements will be trail improvements and improvements to the kayak launch from Ballinger. And this is the base of operations for the state park. We use the old maintenance building there for all of our maintenance needs. Vietnam Veterans Park is 7 acres. This is City of Flint property leased by the state of Michigan. With this, there will be a renovation of the Flint River Iron Belt Trail heading through there, and new amenities including pavilion, picnic tables, and a small watercraft launch. There used to be a boat launch there for boats. The water level does not accept that large a boat anymore, so we'll be making accessible modifications so kayaks and canoes can enter the water. Happy Hollow Nature Area is 39 acres. This is a combination property. This is the property that is directly behind Powers High School. When the state owned that property, this was a nature preserve that was out there. And in fact, the state of Michigan planted every species of tree that is native to the state of Michigan back here in this area. As you walk, you'll see some just giant trees back there, and it's a pretty impressive area. 28 acres of it was privately owned, and that was donated to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. And then the city of Flint has underground water storage on the backside, which we will be working through that property. So this property allows access to the Schwartz Creek and Thread Creek directly on the trails that currently exist. As part of the project, we are looking at single track mountain biking, and then also an accessible trail that will connect to the future Grand Traverse Greenway, which follows the old CSX right-of-way, and which will also be a connection of the Iron Bell Trail that will connect with Burton and Grand Blanc and Atlas. Public safety, our park rangers have dedicated patrols to the state park. We have a full-time ranger that spends 8 hours out there with supplemental services, working closely with the University of Michigan Flint Public Safety Department, and we are in the planning stages of implementing the blue light system throughout the park. All right, any questions or comments? I did give you a handout here that the state created last year. When you look at trail connections, those designs have since changed, but gives you a map in there, gives you some of the initial drawings on what you will expect to see.
Any questions for the director? Commissioner Shoemaker?
Thank you for coming. Start off with, my question is this. You said there's $1 million fund to care for the park annually set aside, an endowment is set aside. Of that, you have to do maintenance, that's policing, and other things from there.
Primarily maintenance and policing.
Yep.
And admin.
Do we have a sub-account set up for that within the Parks Department so we can tell if we're using any of your additional funds or if it's covering it 100%?
Yes, so it is set up as a grant account within the budget, and we charge specifically to that.
If I may continue, Mr. Chair. Is your salary, a portion of your salary and other staff that works on that figured into that?
Correct, yes.
Okay, what percentage of that? Because this has been going on a while for everybody, so.
Yeah, well, it just depends how much, how much time we put in. So we have a project manager that 100% of his time goes into this project. I log my hours, it's a couple hours a week. And then also on our finance team, we have a grant person that logs her hours towards it as well.
Thank you.
Are there any plans for like overnight camping or any of those kinds of things?
No, they have to go to Wolverine for that. And something to note too, this will be one of the few state parks that does not require the recreation passport. It would be kind of hard downtown to set up a toll booth at every intersection and that. So this park is going to be, pretty unique. It's going to be the only state park that's in an urban core. Obviously you have Belle Isle in Detroit, but it's not located centrally within a city. So, that's going to create, some learning challenges in that for us. There's already been talk of, how to adapt the park rules. Obviously we don't want to be, ticketing a U of M student who's walking through at 5 o'clock in the evening during the wintertime, just trying to commute back and forth. So, some of those things that we're working through as they come up.
Dr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did I hear you say that the this will be part of the Iron Bell Trail?
Correct, yes. Yep. So the Iron Bell Trail route through Genesee County goes up through Atlas Township, where we're working on phase 2 next year to get to Grand Blanc. Grand Blanc has a little bit of work to do there. The city of Burton has to do their section, and the Grand Traverse Greenway is in process. So you'll see that here in the next couple of years. And of course, we have it all the way out to Richfield Park, and we have to get out to Columbiaville. So.
Okay.
And one more question. When is the date for completion?
So there's a lot of ARPA dollars sunk into this project through the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. So a lot of the work is going to be done by 2026, the end of 2026. But we will still have some projects that will be outside of that time frame.
Thank you.
Other questions? I have a couple for you. Talking about park rangers, talking about enforcement and patrol. Did you indicate that the county park rangers will be
Yes.
the law enforcement arm, so to speak?
Yes.
In perpetuity?
Yeah, so we are contracted through the state of Michigan to provide general operations of the facility along with building it, and law enforcement is included in that.
No DNR, no state police?
Nope,
Okay. How many other state parks are like that?
none.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay. So just between the conversation we had prior and then tonight, the project is being built with ARPA money, grant money, no millage money.
Nope.
No general fund money.
Nope,
But your continued maintenance and care and patrol will come from your budget, once this is complete.
endowment. We will, we go for that $1 million for the maintenance and operations. There is a endowment committee, which I'm the chair of, with all the partners. We bring the budget forward every year. We vote on it, and then the community foundation cuts us a check.
Okay. Can you talk about that endowment a little bit? Just where that money came from and how it's funded?
So the endowment was the money came from two places. It came from the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan put in about 30 million, and then the CS Mount Foundation put in about 18 million for it.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions? Commissioner Kuzno?
Patrick, I just didn't hear how much you said that the Mott Foundation put in there at the last minute.
18 million for the endowment, but they've been active through the philanthropy for the project as well.
Yeah, and I know that they've been a big driver in this whole process and very involved. And it's been a very long-term and multifaceted type project that's started before I got here, but really got going once, they took the Chevy in the hole and made it the state park. It's kind of the core of all that. But thank you for the update.
And that 48 million is to be used upon completion, correct?
For
Continued maintenance?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Continued maintenance, programming, and then there is a $500,000 capital outlay, which obviously we're not touching, for quite a few years until we.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay. I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 2025-1137, approval of a contract between Genesee County and DLZ in an amount not to exceed $398,000 to provide architectural services for the design of Genesee County's Recycle and Education Center. The cost of this agreement will be paid from the following account.
I'll move it.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Mr. Shoemaker?
Just as normal, did we send it out for bid for different groups? Yep. And can you explain real quick, if Mr. Freeman could, through the chair?
Sure.
Where this fund, where it's being funded from and where it gets its funding?
Yep, Derek Bradshaw, our planning director, is here. He's more versed in that.
Thank you. Through the chair to you. So we have a Genesee County solid waste ordinance fee. We charge 45 cents for every cubic yard of waste that is either generated in our county or is deposited in our county from somewhere else. So that generates the funds to do for the construction, and then also it'll be for the operations. Thing to keep in mind is we have 2 large landfills in our community. Of the funds that are generated through that 45 cents, approximately 88% of that is from non-Genesee County residents' fees. So those are trucks that come from Canada, other states, other counties, since they're both fairly large facilities. So it's about 12% of that fee that actually comes from Genesee County residents. So it's a non-general fund. It's just a way for us to be able to provide those services to our residents and at no cost too.
Go ahead.
Just for those of you who don't know, our staff and Derek's staff had raised this rate. They realized we were much below the national average, and they took the initiative to raise this, and that's how we have these funds to pay for this facility. So kudos and thank you.
Any further questions? None? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. See no other business? Move to adjourn. 7:21.